you're ready, Miss Jessica, go ahead and begin.
So, have you ever asked somebody, what's up, or how are you, without really thinking about it, and gotten a simple, good, how are you, or the typical, I'm fine, in response? It may be that you don't actually get the truth of how somebody's actually doing, making many of us unaware of how those around us are actually feeling. Mental health is becoming a bigger and bigger issue throughout the years, and there's sometimes negative stigma surrounding it. However, starting discussions with other people about mental health and showing that you truly care can be a helpful and healing tool for those who may be struggling. Talking about mental health can be something that, although may be scary or strange to some, can be very beneficial to people in the long run. Lately, there's been a decline in the mental health of people, especially teenagers. In an article by Neil Humphrey, who has a PhD and is a professor in psychology, he says, a systematic review by Board using international studies to review time trends into the 21st century found no changes in toddlers and children, but did report a significant increase in internalizing problems among adolescents, particularly girls. And that's basically just saying that mental health is going down through the 21st century. Now, as you can see on your handout, if you pull that out, that has some information on mental health, especially depression, by the World Health Organization. And so, as you can see from those, that this is becoming a much bigger issue than sometimes people might see. A possible reason why many people may not be getting the treatment that they need is that they haven't really told anyone how they feel, for possible fear of maybe being labeled or judged. This is an honest fear, as there tends to be a negative stigma surrounding mental illness. So, if you were sick, if you had like the flu or a cold or something, what would you do? You would probably, be easy on yourself, take care of yourself. Maybe if you're really sick, take the day off of school or work. Now, typically, that's surrounding physical health. But a lot of the times, that is not the same idea that people have around mental health. Sometimes people, instead of thinking that someone is mentally sick, they think of it as weak. They put it below physical health. In an article by Caroline Heery, a professor in psychology, says, based on a national survey of 12 to 25-year-olds, Jorman Wright compared responses to young people with different types of mental disorders and found evidence of stereotypes of dangerousness, unpredictability, and the belief that the person was weak and not sick. This type of mentality can be very damaging to people who have issues with mental health. It can make them feel as though their issues aren't actually real and that they're just a weak person and that there's nothing really wrong with them. So, if we see that mental health is something important that needs to be addressed, a question arises of how to address it. The start could be as simple as a quick conversation. So, with the conversation, why this is important. Professor Rickwood, a professor of psychology with also a PhD in psychology, says in an article about how people seek help for mental health. She says, using young people's genuine concern for their friends' well-being could be used as a focus for the development of interventions to improve mental health literacy and help-seeking intentions and behavior. So, help-seeking, what is that? That's basically how much a person is inclined to look for help with any issues that they may have. And what she says is that if people support their friends, if their friends are having issues with mental health, that can help them be more inclined in the future to look for help with anything that they're struggling with. That means that having conversations is super important. Back to the article that Humphrey wrote, she says that sometimes talking with some people isn't enough. Because people are human. They're like your average person isn't an expert in mental health, and sometimes they just don't have the capabilities or the knowledge to help with a problem. So when that comes to it, sometimes you need to seek professional help. And there's also sometimes a stigma around that too, like, oh, you seeing a therapist, what's wrong with you, you know, but that's really not the case. Another thing that you can do is genuinely ask how somebody's doing. That encourages people to seek help, especially if they get, you know, feeling worse in the future. And typically, when people feel worse, they are less inclined to look for help. That can help them feel more comfortable about talking with their issues with other people. So starting a conversation deeper than the everyday, how are you, may be uncomfortable. But it could help if someone you know is having a rough time without anyone knowing, and it could start a healing process. The decline in mental health among teenagers is not helped by stigma surrounding mental illness. But one thing you can do is talk about it with others. So the next time you talk with a friend, take time to see how they're really, truly doing. You never know what may be going on beneath the surface.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you, Ms. Jessica. All right, at this time, we'd like to go ahead and open up the discussion for some questions. And if you'd like to go ahead and call on people as we go, that would be great.
Do you find that more people are talking about mental health as of late? Like,
Well, it depends on where you are, but I think people might be, people typically, I read in one of the studies, they go to their friends more, especially girls, they'll go to their friends, but not necessarily a professional, because the level of availability of that has not gone up, but the levels of issues are going up. Jackson?
Why do you think that this has become more of a problem as the years have come on?
Typically, some people think that it has to do with like social media and stuff like that, and that could be the case, but it hasn't actually been proven that that's an actual thing. But it said that a lot of it has to do with the stress of school and that all being put onto kids at such a young age now, and that, you know, it's kind of expected that everybody has a really good education, you go to college and get your degree, and that's just a lot of stress on people. Isaiah?
Do you think when going through like problems, it's better to be like alone or like to go out with?
It depends on the person, I think. For some people, if they're alone, that gives them time to, you know, reflect and to get their thoughts sorted out. With other people, it's like if you're alone with your thoughts, they just keep getting to you. And then if you talk with another person, it can help get it out, and they can talk you logically through anything that you're going through. So, Kirby.
Do you know what are some signs of mental health issues?
Again, it varies from person to person because people react differently to how they're feeling. Sometimes if somebody starts withdrawing from everyone, if they are a super talkative person, sometimes you can just tell if somebody's a little more off. Let's see.
Excuse me.
But sometimes you can't even tell because people are good at hiding stuff.
No?
Do you think improvements in technology and like screens and stuff are making kids that become more depressed at an earlier age?
There has not been, that I saw, much substantial research on that specific area of that and the effects of that on people. But
Okay, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you very much.